Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Healing Conversations. My name is Einav from Untangled Healing, and today with me, Marisol uh, Camacho. Hi, Marisol. So lovely to have you here.
So happy to be here.
Sorry if I managed to mispronounce your surname.
No, totally all good.
Well, so tell me, Marisol, let's get started. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, I'm Marisol, and right now I live in Mexico, originally from the U.S. And I started my healing journey back when I was feeling really stuck behind my desk. I was feeling stuck behind my desk at my 9 to 5, thinking, what am I doing? Spending 50 hours of my week here not having a meaningful purpose. That's literally where I was. And that point of time, not having a purpose, I was really bummed out about life. And I was like, there just has to be a better way. So I quit. Didn't know what I was gonna do. I just had the tingling, that gut sensation, right? Like I gotta switch out. So I did, and I began my healing journey really with yoga. So establishing the mind body connection was really critical for me in order to be able to even access like my emotional life, because I was just so disconnected. And so that journey led me to becoming a certified coach. And in becoming a certified coach, like everything I made that leap too. I'm just, I had a feeling in my gut. I was like, okay, we're going to be a coach. I want to help people change, but I don't want to be a therapist. So, I went through those motions and I found myself again, okay, how do I help people have purpose in their lives, right? And so I started off career coaching. And
Mhm.
as I was career coaching, all of these things coming up, fear of rejection, inner child work, really just all of the things that have to do with trauma. So this is like a cool opportunity to pause and tell me what you think trauma is.
Well, let's go straight there. So I think for a long time I was one of these people that says, well, trauma, not me. I don't have any big traumas in my life, no big events, no, you know the usual, you know challenges in life, but nothing that was I could identify or describe as trauma, until I it finally dawned on me that actually trauma is not just the big things, but that there's more to it. And
Yes.
I'll put the ball back in your court. Please tell us
Yeah.
what is your definition of trauma?
Yeah. So trauma really is just it's a threat to survival. So in any experience that we're going through, when we experience in our nervous system a threat to our survival, that experience, because we're not feeling safe within or inside ourselves, creates like a blueprint. And then that blueprint, if not processed, the emotions around it becomes it becomes part of us, right? It's in the body, it's in the nervous system. And then we get triggered. And so what I was noticing in career coaching is these people had experienced trauma, discrimination in the workplace, or not being heard, or not being able to engage in healthy conflict. That is in a way trauma, because our brain and our nervous system is perceiving it as like, this is a threat to my survival. I don't feel safe. And then it becomes an internalized experience in the body. And this can even happen trauma when we're little kids. Like for me, like I do have a more severe on the spectrum of trauma experience of my mom passing when I was younger. But it could even be just your parent was there, but didn't have the tools to show up and validate you. And that leaves a blueprint of trauma, because we need our parents growing up, right? And so what happens is we go through these events that we feel are a threat to our survival, and they're living in the body. They're living in the body and the nervous system. And so what happens is we end up just, operating unconsciously with this like deep running fear of like survival on like some levels. And this is why trauma informed coaching is not like it I feel like it's when I say trauma, everyone's like, oh my goodness, you're diving like so deep. I'm like, not necessarily. It's dependent on where you are, but this is really about acknowledging that there are some emotional events you've experienced, and there's that threat to survival running in your subconscious, in your body, and how do we process that so you can be free of it, aka like emotional baggage we're carrying around.
Yeah. But I think it's also interesting because in the same way that some people don't really understand what trauma is, and like I said, like me, I was like that, not really understanding that trauma can be anything. There's also the other side of that, of people, not only not recognizing that they have traumas, but also maybe when they come to seek help, not actually recognizing that this is for them. And so there's some, I recognize that there's some stigma around the word trauma, although the what you do obviously is very important, and I'm sure very, very helpful for your clients. I do feel that the word trauma is a yeah, it's not an easy word to use, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not. There is definitely a stigma around trauma, which is kind of like crazy. To me, it's kind of the more I've learned. Obviously, this is just because I've learned, but I feel like it's kind of crazy because we literally live in a world that is traumatized on some levels.
Completely. I mean, you don't even have to, but that's the point, right? You don't even have to have the big things happening. Every day is actually can be like a little bit of a battle out there. And if you don't know how to process this, as you say, the fears, the emotions, they become trapped.
Yes,
But but
yes.
but tell me, how do you um, you know how do you bridge that? What are the conversations that you are having with your clients to help them to understand, this journey that they are entering when you walk together?
Yeah. So most of my clients, come in and they have like this outside goal, right? Like I want to be more productive or I want to have more self-love. Like there's this kind of, there's these kind of just very external goals.
Mhm.
And so what I'm noticing when they come into the space and we're just, talking through it, there is this moment where there's no, like, we can't work on this in the conscious mind, if that makes sense, right? Our conscious mind is only 20% of our brain. Like the unconscious is really running the show. And so what this really looks like is, yes, my clients are bringing these topics, but what we're doing is we're doing somatic practices to bring them into the body. So we're doing somatic practices in a very safe way so that if the nervous system does go out of, it's called this window of tolerance. So when we're in the window of tolerance, like we're safe. But when we go up or down, that's when we're experiencing the up is anxiety, the down would be the depression. We always want to make sure we're bringing the person back to safety. So something I really prioritize in my containers. So we're going through these somatic experiences to really get to the root of what is causing this belief. And then where the coaching part comes in is, okay, we've identified the root. We're showing up for it. We're coming up with, what is this part of my body telling me I need? What do I need, maybe physically, emotionally? What do I need to hear? And then this is a big piece, is the integration, coming out of it. And that's really the coaching part of this is, yeah, we're going back, visiting it, seeing it, feeling it, acknowledging it. But then we're going into integration of how are we going to live now with this awareness that this has actually been living in me, and this is really what's keeping me stuck where I am. And
Mhm.
so I think that's the most powerful piece, is the root cause, as well as, okay, now I know this is, how do I move forward? It's the best way to move forward. And that is why I got into this work, because I noticed that when I was in a traditional like business coaching environment and I wanted to make progress in my business, I was hitting these blocks and they're like, okay, well, you're just like afraid of being seen. And I was like, okay, cool. So like, how do I work through that?
Yes, yes,
And they were like,
totally.
there was no answer. There was no how to work through that. And that left me feeling very like, all right, well, like I left me feeling really confused and bummed out, right? Like I invested a lot of money in in business coaches and they couldn't help me get past the root of my blocks. And so
Mm.
that's why I'm really passionate about it, because, when you're starting a business and when you're starting any new venture, right, as an entrepreneur, all of those like things that are living inside of us, all of those fears, wounds, triggers, whatever you want to call it, all of it comes up. And
Yeah.
it's really important to have a space to process it to help you move through it.
And what, in your experience, I mean, so somatic methods of dealing it is basically, I understand, my understanding is breathing and really, as you say, sensing where in the body it is and what is maybe the feeling, what it tells you, and what as you said, what you need to hear or acknowledge. But is it one time fixes all, or is it, do you have to go through it, for different topics? How does that work?
So healing is an ongoing journey. This is why in all my emails, I sign off as happy healing, because when we're peeling through the layers, there's just like more and more things come up. So I've had some one sessions with people, right? And that's enough for them. Like they get the tools that they need to move forward. I have some people who are like, okay, cool, like one session was good, but then this came up, and then we're continuously working through it. However, I'd say where my practice really is different is I give my clients the tools. How do you regulate your nervous system on your own if you're freaking out? You know, how do you show up for yourself and create a safe space so that, like, avoiding creating that codependency in practitioner relationships, because that happens a lot unknowingly. So it's really about me empowering my clients, giving them the tools. And everyone has a process. Some people are like, okay, I want to work together 3 months. Some people are like, oh, like a month would be good. And then some people come back and they're like, hey, this came up for me. Can we
Yeah.
just like work through it or talk through it? Yeah.
I think my question, my next question, I guess, is really, so as you said, fear of showing up, for example. Is it always just the one root cause, or is it sometimes like a stall that is, there's a few things that making it? How do you
Mhm.
help people to recognize what is going on there?
Yeah. So when we're dropping into the body through this like somatic experience, I typically have clients just drop in and do a body scan. And I'm facilitating this because it's difficult to do this on your own. I will say that because your brain is trying to protect yourself. So all these self-defense mechanisms come up.
Mm.
So I have people drop into the body, do a body scan, and just it's a really simple question. When you're thinking about this fear of showing up, where do you feel this in your body? And then they'll tell me it's typically one of the main energy centers. Say, let's bring some attention to that. When you're just listening and feeling, I don't use the word thinking because thinking is not how we heal. um, and then they tell me just what their body's telling them. And it's this beautiful, amazing thing to watch, because just through facilitating the space for an individual to safely connect with their emotions and process, they get all the answers that they're looking for.
Mm.
And then I come out and help them. Just how are we going to support this? How are we going to integrate this and make this part of your day-to-day life so that you can be free of this, emotional baggage that you've been carrying?
And what is something that people can do? So as you say, they come into the session with some ideas. I want to do this, or I want to be that, whatever the goal is, and you help them find something that is, there's some trauma there. How
Mhm.
how is this integration happening in life afterwards? What are people noticing when they leave the session? And of course, they have a relief, I'm sure, and feeling so much better. What happens to them next?
Yes. So I'd say what like the differences between a lot of the work that I see being done in the industry as a whole and people who are trained in my method, um, is they know how to create the safety and support. So the biggest thing that like I'm trained in is, okay, a lot of people are great at opening people up, but they're not good at closing them and bringing them back to safety. That's
Mm.
why, like for example, I had someone come to a session with me after therapy and they're feeling so like, oh my, like they were just so disoriented. And I was like, okay, hold on. Let's bring you back to your window of tolerance. give you your tools to self-regulate, you know? And so this is where it's different for me because after the session, I'm making sure you're leaving safely so that you're not leaving, like, as I called it, like an emotional smoothie. You're not feeling like an emotional smoothie after. And in case that comes up, like, you know how to show up for yourself to self-soothe. You know how to, okay, I'm feeling scared. Okay, what do I need to do for myself? What part of me needs some extra love or attention? Or maybe it's, like, I'm feeling really anxious right now. What part of me needs to be soothed? How do I need to just express this energy? So, what I'm really finding is through these sessions, people are going into life knowing how to support themselves and self regulate so that they can actually actualize the things that they want to see in their life. That's why I'm
Mhm.
really passionate about helping entrepreneurs because we don't, in my experience, you don't get that support when you're with a business coach, And these are major key pillars to sustainable success, you know, emotionally knowing how to take care of yourself.
Right, right. But then in terms of, because what we're saying is basically people come to you because they feel, for example, I don't know how to show up, and then you go in, you find the root cause, you help, or you start the healing, and then later on when they go back to their business, how is showing up for them then? What are they noticing? What are they finding when they get back
It,
to the same environment but not being the same anymore?
yes, good clarifying question. So people sign more clients, people are making more money, people are having more fun in their business, because there's not that anxiety of the nervous system is like in that state. There's not this anxiety of like, oh, I'm making money, but what if I stop making money? That's
Mm.
really what I've noticed. Meeting with people, helping them regulate, get into a good state of nervous system. They have a discovery call, oh, I just signed a new client, or their content changes. It's way more authentic to what they actually want to be sharing. There's not this fear of showing up and being themselves of how they want to be in their businesses.
Yeah, that very, very much needed. So tell me, what is one question that people usually ask you about, like, when you tell them I work as, with trauma informed coaching. What is the one question that everyone asks?
Are you a therapist? um, that's generally the one question that people ask me is, are you a therapist or how is this different from therapy? And I'd say as someone who, has been in therapy, a lot, therapy is just talking. The difference is in the work that I do is I'm bringing you into the body where the trauma actually is living, prioritizing safety so that you can release it and so that it's not a block to you showing up in your business the way you want to, showing up in relationships. It's really kind of yeah, we're going back, but we're going forward. Like we're not staying in the back.
Yeah, we have to go back to release in order to move forward. A new, with a new reality, new mindset, new, yeah, a released version. And tell me, I know you also got some program that you can talk about in a minute, but tell me, something, a story, or something with a client that really, something that you was really special for you, the work that you were doing with someone.
Yeah. So I I call myself the inner child whisperer because clients come to sessions with certain things, but it always ends up being around the inner child. And whenever I'm working with people and their inner child, I think it's just such a beautiful moment to see people actually show up and reparent that wounded version of themselves that wants to be reparented and loved. And just to see, like, it's the emotional release, but after, like, the smiles, because they now know, like, this was the part of me that was hurting, and this was the part of me that wants the attention, and now I know how to show up for myself. Like, that is really like the priceless thing for me, because our inner child is living within all of us, and they just want to play and have fun and be seen and validated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is inner child always part of the work that you do? Is that like an integrated part of it?
Yeah, it is. It is very much so an integral part because I feel like society and the way we're growing and running in society, there's a big disconnection
Right.
between being able to like have your inner child and be an adult. But there is a way where you literally can create your life with your inner child and your adult self and have so much fun doing it. That's what I'm doing.
Great. So tell us a little bit about your program.
Yeah. So my program is called Live, so you can start living. So I take you through four phases. So the four phases, first is liberate. And liberate is all about we're creating a space for you to safely let go of all the emotional stuff. Release it, process it in a very safe way. And then the I is all about that integration. So now that we've released these emotions and they're being processed, how do we put certain practices, habits, ways of being in place so that you don't recollect the emotional stuff, right? So that you can still, it's not coming back, it stays off of you.
Yeah.
Then the third phase is vision. So now that we see what is possible for us without the blinders of the emotional baggage, it's time to start visioning. What do you want for your life? What do you want to be experiencing in your business? How can your relationship with your business be more joyful? The last phase is explore, which is all about okay, like we've released the emotional things that are getting in the way of doing what you really want to do. We have the practices in place to make sure that stuff doesn't come back and stick. We have the vision for what you desire. So now it's time to take action. So there's a very, as I know it, there's a balance of feminine and masculine energetics in the phases of the program so that you
Mm.
can start living because life is balance.
Yeah. Nice. And so after the conversation, I will leave all of your social links and stuff so people can find you and inquire and find your way to do living if that's so called. And so just before we leave, really leave for the day. I mean, what message do you have for people listening?
Yeah, my message really is on the other side of healing is so much joy. And healing can be very joyful. And I see a lot of resistance to people, because of the stigma, admitting that, I have trauma or I've experienced something traumatic. It doesn't have to be a stigma and it doesn't have to stick with you. There are
Mm.
tools and practitioners like me here to help you release so that you don't have to identify and have your whole identity as a person and in your business like revolving around your trauma. Like there's a way to release it and have that joyful, thriving life that's not built around your trauma and just really actualizing that freedom that comes from releasing the baggage. Yeah.
I really like that image of actually it doesn't have to be to revolve around your trauma. That's for me a very strong image, and thank you for that, and thank you also of course for this beautiful conversation. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and thank you very much for being here with us. Thank you,
Yes. Thank you. Thanks so much.
thank you.